Welcome to Vanguard Motor Sales. We specialize in buying and selling high quality muscle cars and classics. We get in new cars every day, so our inventory is constantly changing. If you'd like to go check out our website right now, we've got over 150 cars in stock. Hit this button up top. If you'd like to watch an About Us video, hit this button down at the bottom. Now let's go outside and check out what we've got for you today. All right, we're outside now here with our 1920 Dodge Brothers Fayette, and this baby is sweet. Now Tim's gonna tell you all about this baby, and if you wanna check out about 100 pictures of her, go to our website at vanguardmotorsales.com. We're gonna get it up on the lift so you can check out the underside. We're gonna get the hood up, check out that flathead under the hood. We're gonna show you everything you need to see. So Tim's gonna tell you all about this baby.
This is a 1920 Dodge Brothers Touring Cabrio. Little bit of history on the Dodge Brothers. They started in 1900 building chassis and engines for all the car companies at that time, including Ford. All of the Fords used Dodge Brothers components right up until Dodge Brothers started their own company in 1914. They got into business in 1914, started building their own automobiles out of their own components. At that point, there was probably 200 manufacturers of automobiles, and by 1920, when this was built, they were the second leading seller right behind Ford. So just in 6 years, they went from starting up the company to the second leading seller of automobiles in the United States. That tells you a little bit about the quality of the build. Now in 1920, Warren Harding was president. The 19th Amendment was passed, giving women the right to vote. NFL was established. Babe Ruth was traded from Boston to New York. And at that point, the post office passed a new law. It was no longer legal to ship your children via parcel post across the country. A little bit going on in 1920. In 1920, this was the peak of the Dodge Brothers, really their success, their early success. 1920, both John and Horace passed away, and at that point the company started to flounder and was eventually bought by Chrysler and really didn't get back to prominence until the 1960s. So in 1920, this was the peak of really the Dodge Brothers' elegance and quality. If you look at this, you'll see some innovations from the 1920s. A lot of people know the Tucker or even the modern Mercedes that have the third headlight that turns with the wheels. 1920 Dodge already had that technology. You turn the front wheels, the third light follows. Walking around the car, you see it had a high clearance and you see it had big tires. Really, this was, you could consider it an early SUV. Back then, you did not have a lot of paved roads. A lot of the roads were mud, dirt, cobblestone, and they needed a high clearance to really take care of driving conditions back there. Going to the side, you see a couple of things. This being as Greg mentions, a Phaeton or a touring cabrio. It does not have side windows. It does have a convertible roof that goes down, and what these would have curtains that go in the rods, and if you did travel in bad weather, you could put up curtains. It does have 4 doors, and if you notice, this particular one is about a 5-year-old museum quality restoration. New interior, new carpet, new top, both the seats, the door skins, everything was done on this car to museum quality specs. New floors, the paint is beautiful on it. What you see inside is really a modern looking car. If we look at the controls, the gauges, the best-selling car at that time was the Model T. The Model T is a little antiquated compared to this Dodge Brothers. If you look, you got a modern 3-speed manual transmission. You actually have a gas pedal, a brake pedal, and a clutch. The Model Ts did not have a gas pedal. They were controlled by hand controls. So this is really a step up from the Model Ts. The Dodge Brothers had a lot of innovations. This was a luxury car. This was a step up from the guy that just wanted a car to go back and forth to work. If you see on the side here, you not only have a side view mirror, you have a spotlight. These were called wind wings. You could adjust them almost like an early vent window so you could get airflow in and out or around the people sitting in the car. We mentioned the top earlier. Top folds down, mounts in these brackets on the side. There were no boots yet, so the brackets held the top from moving. In the back of the car, you see the gas tank is in the back of the car, whereas a lot of early cars, especially the Fords, the gas tank, you either sat on it or it was moved up front in front of the windshield. Dodge Brothers felt it was safer to put the gas tank in the back and eliminate a lot of problems. You also see the gas gauge on the tank is in the back. One brake light, which was standard at the time, no turn signals. Not on cars yet. You could get aftermarket kits, but they were not standard on the cars quite yet. If you move to the side, you see the wheels are actually wooden wheels. These are painted blue to match the car, but actually wooden spokes. It was very hard to keep the wheels in kind of round. They would start to wobble after a while. These are beautifully straight, no wobble at all in them. If we go around to the other side, we can pull up the hood and take a look at the engine. If you look at the engine on the Dodge Brothers, it's actually a 4-cylinder, just like most of the cars of its day, but it's a bigger, more powerful engine than the best-selling Ford Model Ts at the time. Probably about 15 to 20 more horsepower on it. See, it's got a big flare horn as well. Oil can to do your own maintenance. Back then, when you got an owner's manual, wasn't so much told you about how to operate the car as actually how to make your own repairs and how to keep the maintenance up on the cars. This on the side, this is a bracket that holds on what would be 3 containers. You'd have a container for gas, oil, and water for traveling. And when I say traveling, it could be as short as a half-hour trip. You'd really need those containers. There wasn't a gas station on every corner like there is now. A half-hour trip was a long trip back then. So you'd strap on your 3 containers of gas, oil, and water.
Now that you've had a quick look at the car, we'd like to give you a chance to go right to our website. You can click the button right up to your left here to do that. If you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the subscribe button and you can check out a bunch of hot rod videos. Now let's get back and check this car out.
We're going to take a ride in this beautiful 1920 Dodge, see how it performs. If you've never driven an antique vehicle, they're a little different. You have to double clutch them. They do not have a synchronous transmission, which means you have to take it out of gear, let off the clutch, put the clutch back in, and then put it back into gear. If you look at the dash and all the controls on this car, you really getting into modern gauges. You've got an amp meter, tells you if your battery's charging or discharging. You've got oil pressure, and you've got a speedometer with an odometer. You see the speedometer goes to 60. That's a little aggressive for a car like this. You want to cruise at about 35 to 45 in this car. You also have a horn. The horn button's actually mounted on the door of this car. You also have modern conveniences for 1920. You have air conditioning right here. That's your 1920 air conditioning. Also, as far as turn signals go on this car, manual. Arm straight out is left, arm up is right. Didn't quite have turn signals standard on the cars yet. You also have a manual windshield wiper. Basically, that's the way you work the windshield wiper. You also have an emergency brake or a parking brake, and like I mentioned before, this is actually a fairly modern car with 3-speed manual transmission and 3 gas pedals like you'd see on a modern car. We're going to double clutch it again and get going down this way. Now these cars grew out of carriages, so not only were they built for the roads at that time, like I mentioned, but they actually have a suspension built for cobblestones and dirt rutted roads, so they actually ride pretty nice on a modern road. As I mentioned before, this is about a 5-year-old restoration, museum quality, really very, very nice, all the way from the floorboards up through the body. We get the term floorboards because these actually have boards for the floor. That's where that term comes from. The floor on these are wood, and all the wood has been replaced on this. As far as the body goes, Dodge did a lot of innovations. This is an all-steel body, which was very unusual for the time. Nearly every car came with a wooden frame body. All the Ford, Chevys, all the cars of that era came with wooden frames in the body covered with steel. Dodge was all steel on the body, so this is an all-steel body. The only wood you'll find is in the floorboards. Very beautiful car. In fact, my great-grandfather drove one of these. He drove it right up until his death. He died peacefully in his sleep, just the way I want to go, not kicking and screaming like all the passengers in his car. We're going to get a little speed up here. These had about 40 horsepower, maybe a little more than 40 horsepower. So they will climb a hill, but not to the point where you're going to be towing a boat. Very, very smooth. Transmission on this is very smooth. Acceleration's good. This car has just gone through a complete tune-up. You may be wondering the 2 controls on the steering column. This is actually ignition or acceleration, kind of an early cruise control. You can set the not only the idle speed, but once you get going, you can move it upwards, and you can actually lock in the speed if you're going along at a good speed. The other one is Spark Advance. Modern cars have a modern Spark Advance run by a computer. When you slow down, speed up, go uphill, downhill, the Spark Advance will move. This one you got to manually do it. You'll retard the spark going uphill or at a slow speed, and you'll increase the spark when you climb a hill, go downhill, or run at a high speed. Really a very nice driving car. As you see, no hands, and it goes nice and straight. It brakes straight, it goes straight, rides nice. Just a beautiful example of a 1920 Dodge Brothers touring Cabrio.
All right, we're underneath the 20 Dodge. You can see they've got the gas tank mounted in the back here. That is a really big deal. Ford was still putting them up front till like 32. It's got mechanical brakes on her. Look at those brakes, unbelievable. Those babies probably stopped on a dime. That had a lot of stopping force. All the mechanical, everything looks original. I don't see anything jerry-rigged. It all looks original to the car. The rear end's got a torque tube on it. Normally we count what the ratio is. It's got a cutout for the exhaust. Talk about early hot rod. I mean, that cutout is cool as can be. Unbelievable. Open that baby up, hot rod it. Batteries mounted underneath here. Torque tube's got looks like a little leather cover here, keeping it nice and clean. Everything's nice and clean underneath here. Frame's nice and straight. All the metal looks good. I don't see any patchwork or anything. I mean, this baby's beautiful. We've been out driving it. You saw we were having a blast driving it. This is just one sweet machine. It's got a galvanized oil pan on it. That is so cool. It's just a beautiful car. You can see that these are all oil lines coming off the, that's probably the oil pump there. Absolutely beautiful car underneath. I love it. The Dodge boys really knew what they were doing back in 1920 when they put this machine together. Let's look at wheels and tires. All right, it's got great looking tires on it, split rims here. The wood looks great, the hubs look great, and look at the way them babies spin. No problem whatsoever. And right here's that linkage going to that spotlight in the front that follows the steering. Man, is that cool. Let's look at the rear. Out back here again, wood wheels. You can see they've got them bolted to the hub here. That's the brakes. Everything looks great. Again, she spins great. It's an inner tube tire. I mean, this is such a cool car. Let's lower it down and take a look under the hood. All right, under the hood here, we're going to consider this numbers matching. There's the date right there, 7/30/20, that this baby was built. Then the serial numbers right here. Guys had the carb off and cleaned it all up, and it's got it in good working order. We got an oil can here for lubricating stuff up. Take a look at that generator. Beautiful. There's the horn. Everything's painted up nice under here. I mean, done up well. You'll see it. You've already seen us out driving it. I love it. It's an awesome vehicle. Let's swing around the other side and we'll take a look at the other side. Over here, we've got the water pump, the distributor. It's got new wires on it. These little twisties here are actually compression releases. So if you need to crank it by hand, you can release all the compression so you can get that first turn. It's got a modern day coil bolted up here. They've got it clamped in place, so get a little better performance. Car runs awesome. We love it. It's a 4-door, it's a Phaeton, it's a Dodge Brothers, it's a 1920. And if you want Vanguard Motor Sales to park this dream in your driveway, just give us a call at 248-974-9513. All right, we've made it really easy for you. Click on any one of these 5 pictures here and it'll take you right to whatever you're interested in. We're gonna give you about 30 seconds here to click these pictures. If you need more time, just go back in the video and click that picture.